We will do roll call in just a minute, but I'd like to call the meeting to order and introduce our new ex officio board members who are here with us today. Gracie Tout in the TMCC Tutoring and Learning Center and our Classified Council President. And Cheryl War. Cheryl here? Yes. Hi, Cheryl. Hi. Sorry. Counselor in the TMCC Counseling Center and represents the Nevada Faculty Alliance. Welcome. We're delighted you're here, and certainly very glad to see Cheryl and David with us also. Could we have the roll call, Lisa, please?
Chair Colin Hutter.
Here.
Vice Chair Sean Swaga.
Here.
Councilmember Bailey.
Here.
Councilmember Bender.
Excused.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Kazmierski.
Excused.
Councilmember Knudsen.
Here.
Councilmember McCormick.
Present.
Councilmember Schilling.
Here.
Councilmember Thurman.
Here.
And Councilmember Woodring.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. And we will move on to the public comment. Public comment will be taken during this agenda item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item until the matter is included on an agenda item as an item on which action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person. Persons making comment will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name. The council chair may elect to allow additional public comment on a specific agenda item when that item is being considered. Do we have anyone for public comment at this time? There will be another public comment at the end of the meeting. Seeing none, we will move on to the approval of the minutes. This is the approval of the minutes of the Institutional Advisory Council meeting of August 12, 2016. The minutes have been distributed. Are there any corrections?
Madam Chair, I have a correction on the second page of Section 5 where it is referencing the tours with companies for instructors, counselors, and administrators. I would just like to add that those individuals were from the Washoe County School District, and the number of tours needs to be corrected to 4 as of the date of that meeting, please. Currently showing 12.
So the number of tours
Is 4.
is 4.
And it was for Washoe County School District counselors, instructors, and administrators.
Any other corrections? No? May I have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Brad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Thank you very much. And moving on to item number 4, we will have a presentation by Zach Totens. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Zach from the Veterans Resource Center, and he is the coordinator, and we look forward to your presentation. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Zach Totens. I'm the Veterans Coordinator here at TMCC. And before I go through and list all the services that we have here at TMCC, I just want to give a quick background of myself. I am a combat veteran, served nearly 5 years in the Army. I did 2 tours in Iraq, got out of the military in 2010, immediately started attending TMCC, got an associate's degree after 2 years here, moved on to UNR, got a degree in finance and economics, and I'm currently an MBA student. I'll be graduating in May. So I'm essentially a student veteran for 6 years, so I have a unique perspective on that, and it's really helped me out with this job here. So it's a very good thing. So the first thing I want to talk about is our Veteran Resource Center. You guys should all have our little flyers that we hand out to students. We have some more. If you don't have one, I can get it to you. So we just moved into a massive new center this summer. We got a little lucky there. The UNR police and the TMCC police consolidated and kind of freed up that space, and it is massive. It's about 4 times the size of the one we had before. We have a computer lab in there now where veterans can come in, do their homework, free printing. We also have a study area they can come in and use, close the door with the whiteboard, do math problems. We have a veteran lounge with couches. They can go in, have a cup of coffee, relax after class. We also have an office where off-site personnel can come in, meet one-on-one with the student veterans. Anybody from the VA or the Nevada Department of Veterans Services or whatnot can come in. We're very happy with that. And the main purpose of the Veteran Resource Center is we wanted to provide a place for veterans on campus to call their own, to where they can just be together, meet each other, find out about their benefits, apply for the benefits. My staff's actually trained to go through the GI Bill, which can be an extremely tedious process. If you make a mistake in the paperwork, it can really affect your money, monthly money, and things like that. So we love being able to provide that service there. We have 2 veteran-specific academic advisors on campus. This is extremely important. The way the GI Bill works is you can only take classes that go towards your degree plan. So, for instance, if you're in a nursing degree and you want to take a welding class, by all means you can take the welding class, but the VA is not going to pay for it. So what we do is we sit down with them one-on-one, walk them through that so they understand that, let them know how much they're going to get paid, when they're going to get paid, and things like that. The Veteran On-Track Workshops is sort of an extension of that. It's basically a plan to graduation. So we'll say, hey, in fall 15 or whatever, fall 2016, you're going to take these 5 classes, spring these 5, summer these 2, so on and so forth. The main purpose of this is so the veteran can graduate on time, and they can see that end goal and just work towards that end goal the whole time. And again, the whole purpose of that is to save money, time, and energy for the student veteran. They can move on to whatever it is, a job, another degree, or whatever. We have veteran-specific orientations. We hold a minimum of 4 of these per semester. And what these are for is we basically walk the veteran through the GI Bill and how it works, how do you get paid, how much you're going to get paid. Like I said, the paperwork is kind of crazy, so we have to walk them through all of that and explain all that to them. And there's about 7 different GI Bills, too, so certain people apply or qualify for certain ones, so we have to make sure we walk them through all of that. And we also let them know about outside resources that we have for them. Community partners, we have a lot of them. They come and they provide services for our vets. And then we also have local events, and we'd like to let them know. And we do a lot of events here on campus. I'll get to that here in a minute, but we'd like to tell them about that stuff. So early enrollment. This is one of the most important things I think we do for veterans here at TMCC is we offer priority registration. So as I said earlier, with the GI Bill, you can only take certain classes. So let's say if a veteran's going to graduate and they need to take one specific class. Maybe there's just one teacher or it's in high demand. The day that class opens, it's going to fill up almost immediately. So if a student veteran doesn't get in at that exact moment, they're kind of in trouble, and they may delay their graduation. So what we did is we actually opened up about a week ahead of time so the veteran could get in there, get in their class, and then move on to graduation. And this is a huge thing. I think we're the only school in Northern Nevada that does this, and it's helped countless vets. So we're very proud of that. Veterans Upward Bound. So this is located at the Meadowood campus, and it's a pre-college process. Basically, you go in there, you take your ACCA test, which is most students have to take to find out where your math, English skills are at, and so forth. Most veterans, when they get out of the military, are around 23, 24 years old, averagely, or sometimes older, meaning you've been out of high school for 5 or 6 years. So whatever algebra, paper writing skills you had are usually long gone by that point. So you go in there, you take the ACCA, they see where you're kind of weak at. They set you up. They have a great math tutor on site that helps you out. You can go home, work online at your own pace. You come back in, retest, hopefully test a little bit higher in those math and English classes, and then you can graduate or get in, stop wasting benefits. So that's the whole theme here. We wanted them to not waste money, get in here, get done, graduate, and then move on to whatever it is they want to move on to. So that's a great program. I actually went through it myself when I got out of the military as well. All right. So the clicker's up there. Would you mind going to the next one? Sorry. I knew I forgot something. There we go. Thank you. So Truckee Meadows Veterans Club. So this is our nationally recognized Student Veterans of America chapter. They're extremely active. The reason this was formed is kind of build that camaraderie that a lot of veterans missed from the military. So we have a lot of veterans here. Last spring, we had almost 650 here on campus. So there's quite a few with National Guard, former active duty members. So they do a lot of community service. Last year, we did homeless feeds for homeless veterans. On Christmas, Thanksgiving, we did a community cleanup in Sun Valley. And these are young vets. They're coming in on a Saturday to do this on their own time. They're not being paid to do this, so it's a really good thing. So we try to harness that. And I say I'm their advisor, so I always go with them to do this stuff, and I love doing it. And after this, actually, after I'm done talking to you fine folks, I got to go out there. We have a barbecue today for Veterans Day tomorrow, and the Marine Corps birthday's today. So I don't know if there's any Marines in here. They usually yell when they are, so I didn't hear anything. But we're getting a big cake. They do a whole ceremony where they read a message from the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and then they cut it with a sword, and it's really cool. But we're doing that today, and the club's helping us put that on. So it's really good to have that here on campus. We launched 2 new programs last fall. They're professional development programs, the Student Veteran Mentor Program and the Veteran Leadership Academy. Both of these were made possible by a very generous donation from the Nevada Military Support Alliance. Both these programs are designed to help the transition from the military to the academic and professional environments. And as far as I know, we are the only school in the country that is doing a program like this. It's homegrown. We designed it. We implemented it. We're very proud of it. Helps over 60 veterans each semester and awards over $22,000 in book money and scholarships. And this is a fantastic program. We're very proud of it. Like I said, it's homegrown here. It's a TMCC initiative, and it's one of those things that we can hang our hat on, and I'm very proud of that. professional development. So these are workshops that kind of tie into that program here. So we have a career center downstairs, specifically Kelly Wong, who we got with, and we do veteran-specific LinkedIn resumes, business cards, mock interviews, just basically whatever the veteran needs to be able to enter the job for. So if you've ever seen a veteran resume, I don't know if any of you have, but usually it's, the poor guy went in there and cut and pasted what it said on goarmy.com, and it is just, if you were not in the military, it looks like hieroglyphics. You don't know what they're saying. So we basically have to translate that, so whenever they do start looking for work, it actually makes sense to a civilian, then it can translate, and they can actually hopefully get that job. Which brings me to my next one, which is our Veteran Resource and Job Fair. So we started this last fall. We had our third one actually last Friday. These are fantastic events. We had nearly 70 vendors on site. And we're the only school in Northern Nevada that does this. We had veteran resources as well as employers hiring veterans on the spot. These are fantastic events, and we open it up to the entire community of veterans, not just students. And without being a cliche, I feel like one of our missions as a community college is to bring in the community here, especially the veterans. If we have the resources here, we should share them. And we do it on a Friday. I know it sounds crazy that there actually is parking on Friday. If you look outside, it doesn't look like it. But on Friday, it's kind of quiet around here, so it's perfect. The veterans can come right up, and they can hopefully get work. We had Tesla here, Sparks PD, BLM, ton of places. So we were very proud of that, and we're going to keep doing that in the future. So we have a list of community partners. We have a whole lot more than this. These are just kind of our main ones here. The first one and most important one out of here is the Vital Initiative. What this is a program from the VA hospital here in town. So we actually have a VA social worker that's here 2 days a week. So every Tuesday and every Wednesday, she's here from 8 to 4:30. And what she helps with is veterans with anything from PTSD, anxiety, sleep deprivation, anything that's going on with that veteran's life. Instead of having to call the VA, wait, a month or two, not to knock the VA, but it's a fact, unfortunately. You go down there and park. It's downtown. It's kind of a nightmare. They can just walk from their math class, walk into the VRC, and speak with Heidi, and then they are good to go. And this is something that we would never even have dreamed of having about 5 years ago, and we have it here on campus, and we're very proud of that. She does excellent work, and I've seen her help. I don't even know how many veterans, countless vets, over 100. So we're very proud of that, and she's here, and she does it, and the VA pays for it, which is also good, so we don't have to do that too. So it's a very good program. Nevada Military Support Alliance, as I said, they provided some great program funding for us. Without their contributions, we wouldn't have been able to do any of this programming, especially the two professional development programs. So we're very thankful of them. Reno Vet Center, this is one of our longest partners, so they provide a lot of logistics and training for our student vets. They specialize in suicide prevention, so they do like the safe talk and all that stuff. So they'll actually come on site and help us out with that. The event we're actually having today, because we work with a small budget, they actually are providing the food for vets. We try to bring in as many community partners as we can to help the veterans out. Just whoever is willing to help the vets. We do everything for free. I won't charge vets anything on campus. This is the way it is. I don't think it's right. So we bring everybody in here, do whatever we can to help them out. So we open it up. We have the Vietnam Veterans of America who are going to be showing up today, hopefully, and we love those guys. And that's actually my next one there too. So we partnered with them. This is about 5 years in a row now to raise money for scholarships. So we work with them. They get money for their chapter, then they in turn give us money to hand out to veterans each semester for scholarship money, which is fantastic. And the DAV, they have a very impressive fundraising model that they use, and every year they very graciously donate money for us to hand out to veterans, in addition to the financial aid and stuff like that they always get. So we're very happy with that. Nevada Job Connect, they come here roughly once a week. They come in, bring flyers. So we have a job board in the VRC. So they'll come in if somebody's hiring vets or they're veteran preference, or just somebody that's hiring. Switch was hiring a ton of vets a couple months ago. We'll put them in there. If somebody comes in, they're interested in work, we refer them to the board, and then they also do one-on-one resumes and things like that as well. And the final one is Nevada Department of Veteran Services, so they help with VA disability claims. This form is extremely difficult to navigate through, and if you make a mistake, it can really hurt you. You can get set back a year, 6 months, or you could actually get completely denied if you do something wrong on it. So they come in here and they work one-on-one with the veteran to make sure they can do that. And again, these are services that normally aren't done at a college. And what's really great is that we've had the opportunity to bring those here and kind of expand our services and help as many veterans as we can. We try to do, basically, if you come to the VRC, if we can't help you with it personally, we try to do whatever we can to get you to the right people who can help you. That's basically our mission, to do whatever we can so vets are successful. If they're having problems, we try to fix those problems if we can. And that's basically it of the presentation. I can take some questions if anybody has any.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? I mean, I'm so impressed, and thank you so much for doing this. I mean, this is phenomenal. As an employer, most of us have always been trying to hire vets. My husband is a veteran, and we try and hire veterans, but sometimes it's very difficult to navigate and to reach out. And what you're doing is wonderful and giving us the opportunity to get our jobs posted where they're going to be seen by the people we want. And one question I have is one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is the pipeline, getting people into the classes that this wonderful institution provides to get trained people for jobs or for whatever, moving on to another institution. Are you doing anything as you see veterans coming in that are not students to encourage them to become students?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if we come in and unfortunately most GI Bills have an expiration date. So the new post 9/11, the one that everybody knows about, there's a 15-year window from your last date of active duty. So if you come in on your 16th year, and unfortunately we've had that conversation, and it's not a good one to have. And the poor guy or girl kind of wasted that money. I don't want to say wasted the money, but they didn't get to use it. The VA doesn't extend it. There's nothing they can really do about it. There is one, though, that if they do have a service-connected disability, it's called vocational rehab. It's similar to the state program, kind of. And the whole purpose of that is the end goal is employment. So if you want to be a welder, they'll pay for your entire tuition, welding gear, all of that stuff. It's a great program, but it's very specific, and they have to select you. You don't automatically get it. So if they come in, the first thing we do is we try to find out if they do qualify for any benefits, and then we go from there to see if we can get them involved with that. And if not, we still try to do whatever we can. I mean, financial aid, Sharon Worm here, we reach out to her as much as we can to see if there's anything we can do if these veterans do qualify for financial aid. And we've had some good success with that. So we've had some vets that didn't qualify for benefits, and we still got them into school anyway. So we do everything we can, and especially the ones that are getting up in age. We want them to continue their education. The economy's getting better, thank God. So that's getting a little easier to help them get jobs. So.
Thank you very much. I'm sure, does anybody else have any questions?
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Absolutely.
Susan Schilling for the record. The Sheriff's Office is always interested in hiring veterans for all of our positions, sworn and civilian. How can I advertise with your group all the time?
Absolutely. You can contact me. I can send it out. We have a listserv, so every veteran that attends TMCC, they automatically get added to an email listserv. So if we are hiring or if we're having an event or whatever, I send a blast out so all of them get it. And there's so many veterans that want to be law enforcement too. It's crazy. And you guys are usually at every single job fair that we've had too, which is great. And we actually have a couple events where Chuck Allen spoke and some really cool stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely. If you want, I can give you my email. It actually might be on that little card there. You can send me that, and we'll definitely get the word out for you.
My partner here is sharing his card with me. So
Oh yeah, I have some extra
Thank
ones.
you.
I'll get you one before I leave.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question as well. First of all, thank you for your service, and it sounds like you're doing great work. So congratulations on all that. My question is similar in terms of being Nancy McCormick, Economic Development Authority. What more could we do, or could the business community do, to make sure that the people that you are serving know about the opportunities that exist in the community? And certainly Job Connect, I'm sure many of your partners are helping with that, but not everybody registers their jobs with Job Connect, unfortunately. Right. And so what else, from your perspective, could the community be doing or EDON be doing to help make sure your veterans know what opportunities are out there?
Absolutely. So we have, like I said, Kelly Wong is who we work with in the Career Center. She has a job board, so she sees a whole lot of a group of students that I don't normally see, and she interacts with them one-on-one on a personal basis. Between me and her, we can get the word out to pretty much every veteran that's at TMCC. And also there's other ones. I'm involved with other groups. I have all kinds of meetings I'm at all the time, and so if there's any information, I'd be more than happy to push all that stuff out too, to all of them. Right. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I have one question.
Yeah.
So I know that your assistance with VA disability claims must be utilized quite a bit, but do you also help them with health benefits, which I think is different with this?
Absolutely. So the part of the VITAL program, that's the other half of it. So one of them is Heidi, the gal who comes on campus, a social worker, and the other half is a gentleman named Paul Stockton, who his entire role is to get veterans enrolled in VA healthcare. So he'll come in, and it's difficult. You have to be, so you would have had to have been deployed. There's like certain criteria that you need to follow through in order to get the VA coverage. If you were active duty and you deployed, you get 5 years of free medical, no questions asked. So, I mean, anything, if you blown out knee, whatever it is, the VA will help you out. But if you fall outside of that window, there's different criteria. If you have any service-connected disability, hearing loss, back problems, elbow, whatever it is, they'll help. Then they will take you in and you can get medical care that way. So it's a little bit difficult, and there is some criteria that they must meet, but for the most part, we can get most of our students in here. And most of the students we have, not all of them, but most of them have been out of the military within the last 5 years too. So most of them are enrolled or get enrolled when they come here.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to say thank you. I really believe that you do such amazing work, Zach. And the fact that we're serving 650 veterans at TMCC is pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
So outstanding.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from us, I hope so, and
Absolutely.
that we can help you do what you're doing, because this is very important, and we need to make sure every veteran has a job.
Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Thank you.
And my email's on there. If any of you guys have a question later on, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. And moving on, as we do have a tight schedule, Gretchen Sawyer will be reporting on the fundraiser.
Thank you, Chair Hutter. We have a request to move agenda item number 9 to now for a scheduling conflict, if that would be okay.
That's probably because Susan is
Oh,
here.
absolutely.
To talk about
All
dual
right.
credit, we have
Yes, please.
our academic dual
Right.
credit coordinator, Susan May-Smith.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
I wonder if we should frame this a little first. though,
Okay,
Polly.
yes, before we get into this, can I do a quick introduction here?
Yeah.
So we will be moving agenda item number 9 up to, going in after agenda item number 4. And I would like to make just a few comments first. This is a topic, this is mission differentiation, and we discussed this quite a bit at our last meeting. And then I carried the message from here to the meeting of the Community College Committee of the Board of Regents, where we were asked to discuss this topic, and we were asked to bring our comments to the Community College Committee. And I carried the message. I think Mr. Kazmierski, from the minutes I had, I think described it pretty well, and I carried what he said, which was that, and she was not a system of education, as the institutions did not always work together, but were often in competition for students, and the community colleges had an almost impossible task competing with the universities. And I said that, and it didn't go over real well, but I think they were listening. And subsequent meetings that I have had with the regents, who I think I appalled at that time, we have had some very good discussions. So I think our message was heard. This discussion continued at the IAC chairs meeting and at the regents leadership meeting with the IAC chairs. And I think they are starting to understand what our position is, and that there are reasons to be asking for what we are asking to be differentiated, to allow us our identity unencumbered. So with that,
Can I add just a
yes,
bit?
absolutely,
So,
and yes.
And I guess part 2 of that is just a couple of recollections on my part. When I was hired, I think more than one region, actually probably 3 or 4 regions, made it clear that it was really important that NC community colleges really expand dual credit offerings targeting high school students. And so, okay, that sounds great. You know, I've been there, done that. I think these programs are absolutely fantastic for accelerating educational attainment, meaning if we really do want an educated citizenry, the sooner that our students can start college courses, especially in high school, the better. And states that have very mature programs in this area have rates higher than 40% of their population who have already earned baccalaureate degrees. So, you know, there's plenty of models out there for us to follow. But anyway, I felt that was a marching order. So that led to sort of a good shift in resources here at TMCC that you'll hear about in a minute. So now we've done that, and we're not the only ones doing it. Every community college in Nevada is doing this. We're shifting resources to work with our school districts to expand dual credit offerings. And we do need cooperation from the school districts, by the way. And at some point, we might even request a legislation, not this biennium, but maybe next biennium, related to how to best fund that model, right? Because in the states that are experiencing great success, part of that success is because the state legislator has set aside some additional funding to really make the model work, right? And so that's sort of a missing piece right now in Nevada. That said, there is some concern that we'll start doing it. We've moved resources there, we meaning community colleges, and universities might decide that they too are interested, especially if it becomes linked to our limited pie called the performance-based funding model. So I do think that the regents and the chancellor feel that at this point, this does belong to the community colleges, this task. But what we're going to ask of you today is to maybe create a policy or a procedure or a resolution of some kind to say that this is where dual credit belongs, that we can do it better, and we can do it at a cost that is more affordable to families and residents in the state of Nevada. So that's sort of the overarching framework. So, and now we'll turn it over for a quick update from Barbara Buchanan.
Yes, Barbara Buchanan, Vice President for the Record of Academic Affairs. Thank you so much for allowing us to move this out of sequence.
Oh, absolutely.
I only invited Susan May Smith, who I wanted to introduce to you, after 5 o'clock last night, and she has another meeting that she has to be at shortly. So thank you again for allowing us to move it. But we did think it was important, with the conversations that are going on, for you to understand not only should it be in our mission, and we do hope for your support with that, but also for you to understand what Dr. Hilgersom is referring to, and that is that we're really gearing up and we're the best one to do what is being asked of us as far as dual credit goes. So I want to introduce to you Jim, and that is Susan May Smith, who a lot of you know was a principal at the TMCC High School for years here. I don't know how many years, a long time. 11 years. She certainly is well known in the community, and she has agreed to come on board from the academic side, and that is something that we've been doing for years. We've done a good job of trying to respond to the requests as they came in. But what we're moving to is a much more intentional model. You know, we have needs for Gateway, Math and English, to try to, we know all the research shows that if we can get them through those two courses, they're going to be more likely to be successful. There's no reason for us not to be having that happen while they're still in high school. We have a lot of very qualified students that we can make that happen. So from the academic side, we're going to be very intentional. We had approval in the fall to hire a full-time dual credit coordinator on the academic side starting this spring. In the meantime, we are very fortunate that we have Susan May Smith joining us, and so I've asked her if she would just kind of give you an update of where we are and then talk to you about what her visits in the community and the schools have been like. So Susan May Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Buchanan, and all of you for this few minutes. I know you have a very full agenda and a quick update. I am thrilled to be here in a small capacity to assist the college in moving ahead with Dr. Hilgersom's and Dr. Buchanan's vision, building on what Jumpstart in relation to student support services has already done. And get your support. Some of you know a lot about what we're doing, and some of you know a little, and the rest we want you to, for us all to be together on how we move forward. So my background, obviously, for a long time has been dual credit, so it makes sense that I can work in this context. What we'd like to do right now is set ourselves up for, with the school district, and so far I haven't met with Scott, but I have met with people who work with and for Scott. So and I've had no feeling of, this couldn't be possible. And the possibility in the near future is, as Dr. Buchanan said, is to offer dual credit in the gateway courses at every high school. And the gateway courses being English 101 and 102, dual credit already. Those can take the place of English, senior English that's required. And we want to offer college level math. Certainly right now there is a lot with Scott Bailey's assistance. We've been able to work with UNR in making sure that remedial math that's offered at the colleges be offered at the high school as well. It was the remedial math curriculum, Math 9-6, and then a high school advanced math class second semester. And there's an MOU with the 3 institutions, the district, the UNR, and TMCC, that if students pass out of that class their senior year with a 70% or better, they can go right into college math their freshman year of college. We want to move that back so it happens at the high school that they leave their senior year, or students who desire to leave their senior year with that college math taken care of, which would mean that we could have some remedial offerings possibly at the junior level. So we're working together. We want to work with the district. I did meet with Kendra Fox just the other day, which is Director of Curriculum and Instruction under Scott, and we'll come together with a plan. So my charge from Dr. Buchanan and Dr. Hilgersom, as I understand it, is to work with them on short-term plan and a long-term plan. The short-term being that we build on what's already been done in setting up dual credit programs in several high schools, actually most high schools if you can count the CTE credits through the signature academies, and then several high schools that were covered under an NDE grant this last year. You may be aware the Nevada Department of Education granted TMCC, one of the only colleges. Usually they grant the districts, but the college got a chance to set up a series of dual credit classes at several high schools, and we have nearly 200 students enrolled in those fall semester and expect that same amount or more second semester. So we've got the cluster of classes at the high schools now. We've got a couple of high schools that have the math and English now, and the ultimate short-term goal would be at least gateway classes of math and English at every high school. And then what there are resources for, we could fill in. Now, the grant was written, a partnership between Academic Affairs and Student Support Services, and we have a team of people between academics and student support moving those classes ahead right now. So I'm not getting in the weeds of managing those. We're pulling it all together as a team to, is that okay? Of course I can talk loud. Is there a tech person? Gee, I must have been overly exuberant and excited and blew the thing out, right? So that is pretty, then the long term would be, we all know what TMCC High School is. This could happen in 15 or 20 years or 5 years, where at least high schools could offer enough dual credit, or some high schools enough dual credit for juniors and seniors to enter into an academic program for associates of arts or associates of science. You already know through CTE, students can get dual credit for certification in some of those signature academy programs, right? We do have some certification offerings in career and technical ed, but not academic. Again, we don't need to compete with TMCC High School. That's students who need a different environment on a college campus. We don't need to compete with AP credit. By the way, McLean High School has not chosen to have any dual credit just yet academically. They're a heavily supported AP credit high school. But there is, and Dr. Hilgersom did just send out an article to some of us, and maybe she can share with you. Nationwide, AP credit is going to be having kind of its mature date pass, because so many more students will get college credit through early college opportunities, through community colleges nationwide, far more than are getting college credit through AP. So we just have to define the benefits and possible outcomes of each. But circle back around to what Dr. Buchanan said, and we all know there is a strong research-based correlation between early college completion through dual credit and college graduation. And I think that's what we're all about here. So I'm happy to take questions, but I know you have a full agenda, and circle them around. Email Dr. Buchanan. She'll forward them to me, and through Student Support Services under Estella, and the academic work that I'm heading up through Dr. Buchanan, and under Dr. Buchanan, we'll get your questions answered, and we'll come back and tell you some more about what we're doing. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know we'll have more questions, and I do hope on a future agenda we'll have a large space of time that we can really learn more. We're just getting a taste of it, but I think it's very important that we truly understand this as we go to the barricades. Scott, do you have anything to add to our understanding of where, from a practical standpoint, and what the feeling of the school district is something that you're working towards?
I can certainly add a few lines. For the record, Scott Bailey, Chief Academic Officer for Washoe County School District, and I appreciated Susan's comments regarding working on what we've already established. I think we were pretty much innovative, or a pioneer, if you will, several years ago in instituting the remedial type courses that you typically would find at the college or university level down into a high school schedule. It's evolved over time. When we first started, we actually had university and college faculty coming to our high schools after school, and I believe some weekends, to teach these courses. Now it's evolved over time to whereas once we determine if a student, their junior year, is in need of a remediation or a college prep course, we call it, a little more positive flair, we will schedule them into coursework their senior year. So we have an advanced marker, if you will, that would drive the schedule. Now the issue around that is, as you probably know, ACT is technically the College and Career Readiness Assessment in the state of Nevada. So with that methodology I just described to you, the problem comes when ACT data is delayed. It lags those decisions that need to be made. So working with college and university, we've come up with an improvised placement mechanism, I think is the technical term, homegrown terminology, so we can get a good prediction on which kids need to be in there outside of ACT, and then we double check against the ACT data when it comes in as a calibrations mechanism to define whether or not the kid's in the right placement. And so far it's been pretty spot on, so we're very proud of that. Obviously, this is a great opportunity for parents and students, because every student that does ultimately enroll in college or university that is spared setting in a course that's non-credit bearing, spending the tuition money all the while, that's a huge win. So we've readied many kids for that experience. We'd like to have maybe better mechanisms for tracking the students to see which ones took advantage of that opportunity. But we know there's grand potential there. Hundreds of students have proven themselves ready for credit-bearing courses that ordinarily would not have been. I totally embrace the concept of dual credit and building more and more dual credit opportunities. For me, that's just getting students from point A to point B fast. There's potential activity and legislation coming that would work around competency-based education, which I think would maybe open it up to a more expedited route from that A to B. I got a little winded on my comments, but thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you. No, it's very important that we understand, we're sitting here representing TMCC, but it's the partners. It's all about, is what we're doing fitting with what the school district is doing. We want to be a partner in something and not go off on some tangent that obviously you would not be able to support. So thank you very much. Do you wish to frame?
Well, the last part of this, sort of unrelated to dual credit, but important to our funding, is for number 9, we had a policy regarding dual credit and our fiscal considerations. So let me say a brief thing about the fiscal consideration, just really a reminder, and then I guess I'll turn it over to you in case one of you would like to make a motion around community colleges being really the purveyor in the state of Nevada of dual credit options in the high schools, something like that. But first, I don't want to forget to mention that as we move into this legislative session, that one of the most important things that NSHE will be advocating for the community colleges is the change in factor funding for the career and technical education credits. the factor request is that the factor is weighted greater than it is now, which for us would total about $2.4 million over the course of the biennium, which is fantastic. So that really is important to us. It's very important to us. The caseload management growth that's happening all over the NSHE system would benefit TMCC approximately $1 million over the 2 years. So the CTE factor funding is more important to us, to be really blunt, by a factor of 2.5. So I just want to put that in your mind so that if you are interacting with our legislators, to remind them how important that is to community colleges. CTE programs are more expensive to operate. They just are. And right now, if it weren't for our excellent liberal arts and transfer programs, there is no way we could fund some of the CTE programs that students currently enjoy. It's really important to make that connection. So this funding would definitely help us in a big way. But back to dual credit.
So really the discussion when we're talking about possibly a motion is where we are is going back to the mission differentiation, that one of the things that we learned the last meeting we had on this was that from a financial standpoint, the community colleges could deliver their portion of the training under dual credit much less expensively than the universities can. And this is an argument that we have heard, seen in the national press and various articles, of saying that, and because there's a lot of competition within all of the schools in Nevada for getting students to come to their institutions, because the reality is a funding formula, and the more students you have taking courses at your institution, the more money you are going to get. It is reality. And so one of the things we were talking about is because we are in close proximity to other institutions, should the dual credit type of program be basically restricted or given a priority, shall we say, to the community colleges for this type of organization rather than to the universities? Do the community colleges, because it will help, honestly, it will get more money into the community colleges. And so this is the real question. It's that mission differentiation we started talking about. We can continue to talk about it. I mean, it's not, but we're wondering, because we do carry this message, and we will carry it once more. And Karin, I promise to couch my terms a little better next time. But we will, in 2 weeks, be going back to the Community College Committee. Things go from the Community College Committee to the Regents in December. So do we, as the TMCC IAC, representing the college, our mission is to connect to our community and to take care of our college, wish to, at this point, to make a motion. Nothing we make a motion as a recommendation, but it's just saying this is what we think. Or would we prefer to just sort of leave it on more of a ad hoc basis where we say, gee, we kind of been thinking about this. So I'm asking you as the council, do we wish to make a motion and make a stand, or shall we just sort of keep moving in a casual, a more informal
I have a couple of questions, though, regarding just generally how it operates, and I think it's relevant to this conversation. The first one, I have two questions. One is, Scott, you mentioned that initially on the remediation that UNR professors taught the courses. Is UNR still involved at the high school level in delivering the instruction, or have they been replaced with school district personnel, or how is it currently happening?
Yes, Scott Bailey, for the record, they're still intimately involved, but they are not the course instructor. Intimately involved defined as we have frequent professional learning community meetings, whereas all parties are at the table, making sure we're in lockstep with the rigor. Recently we heard that the rigor of our programs, it might even exceed that to what it used to be at the college university program level. So we feel really good about that everyone signed off that these are very rigorous courses, that we could give a thumbs up to a kid once they've achieved mastery, that we would honor that passing score, which would allow the student to gain credit-bearing course access upon enrollment. So yes, they're intimately involved. Calibrations, if you will, verification, professional learning, those types of things, setting up the course content sequence, grading, the whole 9 yards.
Can I assist too a
Yeah.
little bit? So what the UNR math faculty assigned to this did, and it's Chris Harold, is he got all of the teachers and professors together, and they aligned course outcomes in what we would call Math 95 and Math 96. So these are courses that are below 100 level, and it's algebra, the basic language of algebra. I mean, that's how I would put it. And so I think that he did a fantastic job getting that done. So the high school teachers are still teaching 95 and 96, and what Susan and Barbara will be doing is saying, okay, now that that's done, we'll teach 120 or 125, and don't ask me what the titles are because I'm not sure I recall, but that's college level math. That really is the last course in the Gateway series. And so the idea is that the student then will complete their 95, 96 taught by their high school teachers, but in consultation with TMCC and UNR, and then they can move to a TMCC math class at the high school. Right. So I think the challenge that I see, there's two challenges. One, the teachers in Nevada really enjoy advanced placement. They like teaching those courses. So I think we need to try to find ways that those teachers who now currently enjoy AP students, if they are qualified to teach a course for TMCC math, I think we should really look seriously at hiring those same teachers so that they can still have that fulfilling experience. You know, that might be a conversation point.
So will the delivery still come from a high school teacher even when you get into math one?
At this point, no. At this point, the model is that it is a TMCC
person,
faculty member who's at the high school site teaching those courses. I think the concern is that when we look at remediation, it's very clear that in the last few years, UNR has dramatically expanded their offerings of Math 95 and 96. This term, there are 1,000 students currently at UNR completing Math 95 and Math 96. Yeah. Okay, that's a lot. So there has been this shift. In most states, community colleges own remediation. I worked in a state where Washington State University contracted with the community college to offer those courses at their site because elite universities shouldn't be in the business of high school algebra. Okay? The other thing that's troubling to me, speaking frankly, is when community colleges offer 95 and 96, we get state funding for it. The universities do not. So they are charging a self-support cash model that families pay for, and basically the state is off the hook, which is troubling to me. It's troubling. And by the way, we couldn't afford to do that because we're not funded in the same way that UNR does. For example, in the funding model, for 300, 400 level courses and for masters and doctorates, UNR operates by a very generous formula. So when you really look at the average FTE, the average student funding, they're getting double what we are, literally double. So if you took an average of their students, they're getting about $8,500 a year per student. We get about $4,500, even less per year per student from the state. So it's really hard to subsidize these things. We cannot afford to subsidize these things, which is why a discussion about mission differentiation is critical. The truth is, the remediation can of worms was opened a few years ago. I'm not sure there's any going back. I don't think it's a good use of our time and energy at this point. I've sort of given up on it. But we shouldn't make the same mistake with dual credit. That's my opinion. Let's be proactive with dual credit and say, we can do it at the community college level, working in partnership with the high schools at a more affordable cost to the state taxpayer. And that's the truth of it.
Because we do have, I think there's going to be still a lot of questions. Even though I've now been through 5 meetings on this with the regents, I feel we need to keep this group more informed and more in depth of what is going on. I would not feel comfortable at this point asking for a resolution and then carrying that forward. Because the more I hear, the more, even though I have sat and talked to the regents about this. So I always hate sort of kicking the can down the road, but I think this is something personal if somebody has some other idea. But I would like to revisit this again and get you more information. Perhaps I could work with Scott and get more information to you so that at our next meeting we can be more informed.
And I think maybe spend time crafting that language
Yes.
as to what it actually looks like, so we're
Right.
not doing it here and saying, or
Yes.
leaving something out or
Right,
misstating.
so that we will come into the meeting knowing what the potential motion might be.
Kelly,
Yes.
also, instead of doing it in the vacuum of our IAEC, getting comments from some of the other community colleges and how they feel, I think
Right.
is important for us to hear that.
Right, and I will get you the minutes from the 2 meetings. The 4 chairs have been meeting. We've been allowed to be in the same room because we finally all realized we wanted to make sure we were actually all doing the same thing and talking about the same things. And I will share with you that we are all talking about the same things. And then we are also now meeting twice a year with the regents, with the chair of the regents and the vice chair of the regents and the chancellor, the 4 chairs. So we're having an opportunity to have very, very good discussions. And it's really changing a lot. And I apologize for not having gotten the minutes to you, but it gets long and complicated.
And will that occur then prior to our next IAC meeting, that we would have the ability to get those meeting notes and
Absolutely.
review those?
I have the rough drafts now,
Okay.
and I will actually share with you what I can from those until we get, because we've had to kind of move up the schedule on that. So,
Thank you.
I should add that Chancellor White at the last Regents meeting, which was a couple of weeks ago, did summarize a discussion that was held with the Council of Presidents, all the presidents in NSHE, and did declare that community colleges will take the lead on dual credit. So the regents and the current interim chancellor are really very supportive.
Yeah.
yes.
But if you've got any questions, please forward them along so that we can do our homework and you can go into it at our next meeting feeling informed.
So we'll be sharing it. And Scott, thank you. He did come to one of our meetings. They are open meetings. We'd be delighted to have you join us. And thank you for coming early in the morning and finding us somewhere over at UNR in a small room in a back corridor. And, thank you. So is that acceptable to everybody to keep? We will keep learning. Thank you very much. And thank you for information. And we will certainly be back to ask more questions. And we're actually kind of staying on track here. So we will, Gretchen, may we come back to...
Good morning, Gretchen Sawyer for the record. I'm the Executive Director of the TMCC Foundation, and I'm pleased to give you a report on some of the amazing activities that have been occurring at TMCC recently. Most recently in September, and I have some pictures that some of you will have to turn around to view, but some great highlights from September, starting with the completion of the William N. Pennington Applied Technology Center. And these pictures show you the before and after. And the before is quite a difference, very 1960s, 70s-ish. to a very modern picture of just the outside of the building. I think most, if not all of you, have been inside the building, so you've seen the amazing renovations that have happened inside and the impact that those renovations are making on students. So we're so grateful for funding. The first phase of renovations was made possible through the Department of Commerce through an EDA grant, and then some other capital funding that we had. And then the second phase of renovations was possible because of the William and Pennington Foundation and a enormous 4.3 amazing grant, $4.3 million that they provided. So the first phase of renovations was completed last December, and then this next phase was just completed in August. So on September 21st, we had a ribbon cutting event, which was very well attended, which was a great opportunity to highlight the renovations. And you'll see there that we had Chair of the Board of Regents, Rick Traychuk, there, who made remarks. We had a representative from the EDA there, the 3 trustees from the Pennington Foundation, Regent Geddes was there, as was the chair of our foundation board, Brad Woodring, who's also IAC committee, along with the president, who got to cut the ribbon, along with our 2 robots who were holding the ribbon, and then Jim and Kyle as well. So it was a great event. And you can see there, we also had the opportunity to highlight the naming of the IGT Manufacturing Hub, which is this great space that we now have. And thanks to IGT, they provided the opportunity for the naming of the building, because previously the building was named the IGT, Applied Technology Center. And we approached them with the huge renovations that we needed, and they very nicely agreed to release the name from the outside to give us the opportunity to raise the over $4 million that we needed. And so now we have a wonderful space and that manufacturing hub named for IGT. So we're really grateful for that. At the ribbon cutting as well, following up on the dual credit, we had a couple students speak. And they are Washoe County School District students who are taking part in the technical pathway option, which was really the impetus for the grant from the Pennington Foundation. Their real interest is filling the needs of workforce development in this community. And so we started this technical pathway in the fall with both Washoe County students as well as ACE Charter students. And so we had to speak to the impact that this program is having on them. Because not only will they graduate with a high school diploma, but they'll also have a certificate in one of the areas. One of the students there is in UAV. So he'll have a certificate where he could go and get a job immediately upon graduation, or he can continue on, and I believe he wants to continue on to the university in a drone program. So it's really an exciting opportunity. We see huge expansion capabilities there, and so we're really excited about that. And so that was just one of the highlights that we had there. Then, a couple days later, we had an inaugural Food, Wine, and the Future fundraiser. And this was a great event, a new event that Bruce James and his wife Nora James were co-chairing, along with a wonderful committee who we could not, this would not have been a success. Nancy McCormick was very instrumental in this event, so we're so grateful for your participation. Collie Hutter as well on the committee and involved, and then Estella as well was on the committee. So we had about 12 people on our committee that really helped us to create this event from scratch, which any of you who've ever planned an event, starting something brand new, is quite a challenge. But we had nearly 200 people at the event and raised over $100,000. And you'll see it was very interactive. because really the whole premise of this was Bruce said, we are not going to have another rubber chicken dinner. Well, it certainly was not a rubber chicken dinner. We had our culinary program prepare the food, culinary students serving the food. We had the wine and beer donated, so it turned out just great. We had sponsors, so the purpose was to bring companies in and engage with who Bruce would term thought leaders in the community. So the companies, we had 8 sponsors here. We are so grateful for their support, and they really engaged, and the feedback we got from them was very positive. We had RDOT Group, Bender Group, Chris Bender, who's on IAC, Colley's company, ClickBond, Flirty, which is a new drone company, Now Foods, Envy Energy, Renown, and Tesla. And one thing I'm really proud to report is that because of that Tesla gift, a sponsorship that we got from them, that was the first gift as part of their commitment and signing with the state from their education gift fund. So we've really developed a great relationship moving forward with them. So we're really excited about that. The next day, so we had this event on Thursday evening, a reception, and then on Friday we had a student awareness fair where it was students from the school district come and engage with these same companies. So it really ended up being 2 events in one with 2 different groups, and so it turned out really, really well. To give you just an overview of the financial impact, so total revenue was over $117,000. Our expenses were quite low at 13%, which is great because we were able to get a lot donated, and having it at our own venue helped quite a bit too. So we raised nearly $70,000 for program support, and that's programs at the Applied Tech Center as well as our new Center for Applied Logistics Management Center as well. And then over $32,000 for scholarships for students, which is just fantastic, and those are students in the Applied Tech Center. A lot of new donors that we acquired who we are now engaging with. The companies who you saw listed that we now have relationships with. So we're really excited and delighted with how this turned out. And then I just wanted to give you a brief update because every year in December, the foundation reports to the regents on activities. And so they get a written report, and then the chair of our board, Brad Woodring, gives them a verbal report as well. And just touching on the highlights for the year, including the opening of the Health Science Center down at the Redfield campus, and that's the Pennington Health Science Center. That opened in October of 2015. And again, I mean, I think it's just important to point out that this is the first new building that this campus has had in 10 years, and no state funding attached to it. So that's a huge accomplishment, thanks to my predecessors. Also, the renovations at the Pennington Applied Technology Center, and then the total revenue contributions raised from the foundation totaled more than $6.6 million in fiscal year 2016, which is a record for the foundation. And that was thanks to the Pennington gifts and some gifts that came in from the Redfield Foundation, Hawkins Foundation, in support of the Health Science Center. So we're really so grateful for our donors who are making such an impact on TMCC and our students. Then just to give you an update on scholarships, because scholarships are a huge need for our students. We received 1,500 applications for scholarships this year, and we awarded 470. So that's still just an enormous need that we have. But we were able to award $532,000 in scholarships this year, which is just fantastic. But that's something that we're always trying to beat the previous year, so that's something that we can always use your help and support on as well. So that's kind of a brief overview of what's been happening. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Could you talk to, Mr. Bender is not here today. would you like to let them know about the gift from the Bender family? Or?
Yes, thank you. I know I was hoping he was going to be here today, but I know he's not.
He did say that we could go ahead.
Great, okay. Yeah, we are so excited because we have a wonderful relationship with the Bender family. And Chris's father, Frank Bender, was very involved with the Center for Logistics at the University of Nevada. And in his will, he had left a house at Donner Lake to the university for their Center for Applied Logistics. Well, in about 2010, that center dissolved. And so, thanks to President Hilgersom and the Dean of our business, Maureen Merkel-Poor, the relationship with the Benders and then some facilitating with the university allowed that gift to come to TMCC. So, the Benders, so they just recently sold their house at Donner Lake. I mean, an amazing view of the lake. It sold in 1 hour, the house. And so TMCC is receiving $600,000 as a result of that gift that is going to the Center for Applied Logistics Management. And so you'll be hearing a lot more about it as we receive the gift. We're going to have a ribbon cutting in the spring for the new center, which is actually at our Meadowood campus in the north building. And so there's a space there that's carved out for calm, is what we call it. So we're so grateful to the family and the impact and the legacy that Frank Bender has left.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions, comments?
If I could just make a quick comment. I appreciate your comments, Gretchen. We're certainly excited about the partnership and the shared use of space and the Tech Pathway program. It's near and dear to me because one of the students pictured that spoke that evening, part of the inaugural class in the Tech Pathway, is my executive assistant's son. And they are extremely excited about what this partnership will yield. So thank you.
And he's in the drone program, right?
Jake, I believe he is. Pathway.
Amazing work, Gretchen.
Madam Chair, if I could just commend Gretchen on the Food Wine of the Future event. She had a monumental task managing all of the different expectations of this committee and all the new directions that we wanted to take this event. So it was really a dramatic shift from the traditional type of event that she probably was accustomed to having planned. She can tell you about the hours spent on the invitation alone, wanting to make sure that it was different than what people may have seen previously. So just wanted to thank you, Gretchen, for sticking with all of our input and following through and making this a really successful event. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to echo that. There was, it was a very interesting and, but you did a brilliant job, and it all worked, and I think that's great. There's one last thing. The next day you did have actually a job fair in that space,
right? Where
which I think was very high school students.
Yes, yeah. We had high school students that then engaged with those same companies. Yeah, which was a great opportunity for them to learn about future employment areas that they may be focused on.
So thank you. It was a great thing because we had the duality. So once you had brought all of your equipment, Tesla brought their cars, we got to share it with some people who really appreciated it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I am on the master plan. Do we want to take a quick break at this point and then we'll move on with the master plan?
Yes.
Okay, so 7 minutes. What I'd like to do is, all right, so we'll be moving on now with Karen's President's update on the TMCC Capital Master Plan update. And
okay, so in your packet, I think did you all get the big fat master plan? And what I'm going to do is sort of boil it down for you. So originally, our plan, based on some input from a couple of the regents, was to amend our master plan in December and then request sort of an official blessing to move forward on a couple of new projects in March. As a result of some really positive and fruitful conversations, we've changed the timeline a little bit. And part of the reason is because it was recommended, and appropriately so, to group our amended master plan and the introduction of these projects. At the same time, CSN has some similar projects, which would occur at the March meeting. That said, we will be introducing these projects on an informal basis at the Business and Finance Committee meeting, which will be held during the Board of Regents at the December meeting. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. There are really two projects that I just wanted to highlight today, and one of them we went into some good detail at the Foundation Board meeting earlier this week. Was that earlier this week? Right, so. And is that yesterday? Oh, the days are long. And I think we're really excited about both projects. The first one that I wanted to highlight was the TMCC Fitness Complex. And this is the project, thanks to the Student Government Association and President David Turner, I think is on a really great course for approval. This project would begin with a track and a soccer field, and the soccer field would be used by our students, and we are doing the sort of the research phase of doing an NJCAA, a National Junior Community College Association athletics programs in men's and women's soccer. And just so you know, university athletics is extremely different from community college athletics. So having been at several institutions that had robust athletic programs, a community college can often find a coach for $10,000 a year. So as opposed to what universities end up having to pay coaches in order to find good coaches in a competitive, really profitable environment. Community college sports are done for different reasons. It's done to create a sticky campus, a campus where student engagement is high, a campus that has camaraderie, and in my opinion, a campus that really does emphasize health and wellness. That part of a healthy brain is also having a healthy body and also a healthy team spirit, learning about teamwork through team sports, or participating as an observer of team sports and learning about teamwork in that way as well. So one of the things that I think David and I were most excited about was David conducted a survey, and within a week, approximately 1,000 students responded. And of that 1,000, 80% want this project to move forward, and they're willing to assess themselves a fee of at least $5 per credit for this project to move forward. Of that, another about 30, I think it was 35% were willing to assess over $9 per credit in order to get this done. So we have been working with our H&K, the folks who amended our master plan, and they gave us a price for this. It's sort of a worst case scenario price. Right now the project is coming in at about $22 million. The $8 million of it is getting the ground ready. I mean, one of the things about the Dandini campus is it's not a lot of level spaces and a lot of rock that we'll need to deal with. This would be sitting on a 14-acre plot of land. The field alone and the track is about 6 acres for this complex that we currently own. So that's the good news. The land is free. So anyway, it's in a really great spot. And it's a spot now that is not used, but it's near the new parking lot. So it's got some good parking options as well. I think we've both talked about other ways in which revenue can be generated by sharing the soccer field. Apparently in this part of town, soccer fields are in short supply. And youth soccer is, to me, that's a very exciting thing to look at, if only to get our youth onto this campus to realize that there is a community college in their neighborhood, and that this is a place that they can play soccer when they're young, but they can come here and take college credit courses and major in programs when they're older. So, anything you want to add to this project?
I think you pretty much touched everything.
Okay, great. And Jim New, did you want to add anything about this project or anything at all from your perspective? Yes. I love putting people on the spot at public meetings.
Thank you. Jim New, Vice President, Finance and Administrative Services, for the record. President Hilgerson did cover most of the salient points for the soccer field. The expense of the field, as she said, is the worst case scenario. So we're hoping that it will come in significantly lower than that. $8 million just to level the space. We'll have to haul in a lot of infill to make a level spot, but we also have to bring the utilities down Dandini Boulevard to reach the space. I don't know if you wanted to talk about potential second phase of the project years from now, but if you look at the illustration on the projected image, you'll see a white spot up there for a fitness building, which would house facilities such as multi-purpose rooms that could be used for martial arts, dance classes, fitness classes, basketball courts, an indoor walking track, etc. So that would be the second phase of this project that would be some years down the road, depending on our ability to raise the funding for the project itself. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the financing or anything along those lines if there are any.
How much of the student fee goes towards, the whole student fee, I guess, goes towards the building of it, but how much of the total expense does that cover?
It basically services the debt on an annual basis.
Okay.
The Board of Regents will issue a request at the legislature for a revenue bond for several projects across the system. We would be participants in that request. And the student fee would be the debt service.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, next project. Okay. I'll probably click on. Oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, I'm going backwards. Whoops. Okay. So, all right. The other one is the EAPS building. And this is using local certificates of participation, at least at this point, until we can compare deals, depending on what happens with NCHE's request to increase the revenue bond cap at the state legislature. The other thing is that this would require a massive fundraising campaign. Yes, Gretchen's well positioned to lead in that effort. So we really would be seeking approximately $15 million to fund this facility. In addition to that, there would be a new market tax credit, and we already have consultants shopping around for partners and getting some really positive feedback now that we've changed the scope of the project, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then finally, part of this would also be just debt service on an annual basis. We're lucky that TMCC's past leadership has done a very, very good job setting aside a reserve for capital that has been building for a couple of years. Well, probably more than a couple. And that will be very, very helpful in servicing this debt. So here's primarily what it does. And I think rather than just look at the PowerPoint, I want to go to a picture. So in essence, there are three major spaces. One, an expansion of our culinary arts program and a rebrand of our current culinary arts program to be the Sierra Culinary Institute. Two, a 300-seat theater so that we could get out of the Keystone Theater location that I don't know how many of you have been to that location, but it's in an interesting part of town. And it's actually pretty expensive. It's running almost $10,000 a month. And in just, the lease alone's I think like $9,500 a month. And then there's just maintenance and utilities and all of those kinds of things. So it's a pretty expensive theater. And it's I think what's unfortunate about the location is we do have a number of students engaged with our theater program, but I think that number would double, maybe triple if it were here on Dandini. So, and then finally, there would be a large event space so that we don't have to continue to do events in the student union, which then displaces the student union and things that students can do in the big space. Just, I think it's that way, right? And so those three things would be housed in one facility. Part of that would mean that now we have a facility that's really emphasizing workforce through culinary arts. It's also emphasizing theater and solving our problem related to the Keystone Theater location and facility. And finally, this third problem it solves is it creates a large space that we can use for internal campus events, but also continue to host community events and other events that can generate additional revenue for the college. One of the things that the theater people have committed to doing, and I really like this piece, is they're committed to developing an entertainment technology degree. And this, again, is a workforce program which would train students to do the special effects, lighting, sound, stage management and construction, things like that. And so that would be sort of a second workforce program. Those students are then part of what I would call a living learning laboratory, that the entire facility for those entertainment technologists is their space to practice their craft, whether they're working on lighting or sound event in the restaurant, which is kind of depicted at the top floor in that big round glass. That would be the new restaurant. Or whether they're working on a theater production or helping with an 8,000 to 9,000 square foot event space, which does require some tricky audio, sound, and usually use of PowerPoint or photos that needs to be projected, right? So the scope of the project has changed from a performing arts center to what we're calling Event Arts and Technology Space, or EATS. I want to say just a bit more about the culinary arts, because one of the things that I observed right out of the gate here is that we have two really incredible culinary arts faculty members and who do really a fantastic job. And when I talked to Chef Karen about expansion, she was really excited. And she said, the reason I really can't expand now is we don't have enough space. It's just, even though she's got between 125 and 150 students a term, she thinks she could really increase that capacity. And if we had a beautiful facility, the idea is that in addition to training and teaching our local residents to be culinary arts chefs and business owners, but it's also reaching out to some of the California students who are now spending a lot of money to go to some of the private culinary schools in Northern California, and charging a differential fee for that to help subsidize the program overall. So it really would be branded as this is the regional, so we would be really honing in on this is the premier culinary arts institute for Northern Nevada, for Northern California, for even parts of Oregon and Utah. Come here. You don't need to go all the way to Hyde Park to attend CIA to get the same experience right here for about 20% of the cost. We still are a booming resort town. Casino revenues might be down, but the hotel receipts are not down in Reno. And so to sort of take advantage of that. In addition to that, what we hope to do is leverage our existing business department and our entrepreneurship studies and really create some pathways, including with universities, to grow culinary entrepreneurs and hospitality entrepreneurs. So that's the other layer that will be part of this new facility. Okay. Any questions?
Comment, and I see it on the next slide, is just to also keep in mind the growing food manufacturing group of companies that are here, that are expanding, and that are locating to the region, so that science center that's noted is more than just a recipe science lab, but truly a place that these food manufacturers could take advantage of to do research and development and whatnot, and to build workforce that will meet their needs, that are familiar with all of the different considerations that go along with food manufacturing.
Thank you for mentioning that. If I would have been turned around, I would have remembered to mention that. Yeah, but that is really critical. And we do see a very direct role between our culinary arts director, who is interested in purchasing some specialized equipment that is the kind of equipment that we would use in culinary when we're feeding thousands of people versus just 50 people, right? And that's the kind of equipment that also serves some of the, especially the frozen food manufacturing industries. So yes, so that's all part of this as well. If there's anything else that I missed, I keep going back and forth. Oh, this is a location. So you see the soccer field on the 14 acres, which is sort of across the street from this campus. And then you see the Eats building is located near the new parking lot. The idea is to build it high enough and tall enough so that we take advantage of some nice views in that direction. And the restaurant will also include a patio. Hopefully there's money left over to make the patio large enough to also generate some revenue for private events for the college. I think that's it. Okay. Any questions at all on that? Yes.
Karen, when we met, and it was actually Tuesday, yes, we did meet, not yesterday. When we talked about that, and one of our other board members had suggested looking at the orientation of the soccer field in a north-south as opposed to an east-west. So as I look back, if you can go back to that slide, as I looked at that, I know that that's a new parking lot where the Eats Center, to the right of the Eats Center, that's a new parking lot. Have we even thought about what switching those two and putting the soccer field fitness center up more toward the center of campus? And we're down below, if we had the Eats Center, it would give us a more direct view of downtown, and parking lots would be a little bit less because of having to deal with the topography.
We have thought of that, and the reason it's a no-go is that soccer field is actually about 6 acres. So this drawing, I believe it's not to scale at all.
Okay.
So it would wipe out too much parking. However, what we haven't thought about, at least I don't think the architects, and by the way, these architects did not have a lot of time because we kind of rushed them on this. But if we move the soccer field north-south, it could be that it ends up being flipped with the parking lot within the red dots. Same location, but a slightly different orientation. So this is not by any means the final draft. This was really to get a good cost estimate so that President Turner could figure out what fee proposal needed to go before the Board of Regents.
And well, that's what I was getting at. Is what's the cost differentiation between down on that? You said $8 million to just get the dirt ready to go, as opposed to what we have up top, where we do have some space and maybe have to take out a little bit of a parking lot that might be much less.
It would be more than a little.
That
was the problem.
But to Jim, defer to Jim.
Right.
Obviously,
let's defer to Jim.
Thank you, Jim New again. The impact on parking would be just unbearable.
Yeah.
That is drawn to scale. But it would take out hundreds of parking spaces, whereas the Eats building, where it's designated there, would probably take out about 100 parking spaces. When you walk out of this meeting this afternoon, you're going to be at one of our peak times, and you'll see that students are parking out on Dandini. They just can't find parking on campus, and so we want to minimize the impact. Also, the circulation for students to the Eats building, if we were to swap locations and put Eats down the road, it's not an easy walk down there between classes. So we've really tried to take everything into account where we can locate it. One thing that we will consider as we move forward is moving the soccer field further up. Where you see the gray building for the fitness complex, we may swap that out because we think there may be less leveling of the ground further up the hill as opposed to being down the hill.
So more parallel along with the road.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're still going to have some parking issues though down the road if we get. So are we looking that far ahead, Jim, as far as other properties available to us? Because if we're successful in this, we're talking not just 100 that we've lost from the Eats Center, but possibly another maybe 500 that we're going to require.
It'd be a good problem to have, right?
And we will.
We're surrounded by property owned by the Desert Research Institute. We have, in the past, been able to use some of their property as temporary parking, but last year they would no longer allow us to use the piece of property that is just to the south of the Vista building. It's a prime piece of property that they are trying to get a tenant for, and for some reason they just don't want our cars parked there. There's other parking. You see the roundabout at the bottom of the picture there. That connects to a dog leg that is not part of the illustration. And there's a lot of property down in that direction as well. Prime property, fantastic views. Again, Desert Research Institute does not want to allow us to use that property. They see it as an income opportunity. Somewhere down the road. How far down the road, I cannot predict. We've been up here 20 some odd years and haven't seen much activity, but that's one of the things that's locking us up. So, yeah. One option is that we start taking parking into consideration as we're scheduling classes. When we hit capacity on parking, we may want to say, we can't schedule any more classes during these hours. Spread your classes out a little bit further. And of course, we're always pursuing better mass transit options to the campus, including a discussion about having an inter-campus shuttle that will move students around from site to site.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren, anything
That's it.
else?
Thank
I think
you.
very, very interesting. Thank you very much. Very exciting as having a daughter and a father who were theater arts majors in set design. I think that's great. I would actually like to, because we do have a very full agenda, and I know there's a lot of meetings today and a couple of other people are going to have to leave us, so I'd like to move on from item 7 at this time and move on to item 8 so we can get to a few of things where we do need a motion as quickly as possible, or maybe we should just move. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and go to the meeting schedule and the change of terms. I'd like to go to item 11. Which is the discussion and possible action on changes to the terms of the IAC, which affects really only the people here because we are the initial group. I don't know whether everybody read that. Basically, guys, your terms get another year added to them. So if you were a 2-year person, you're now a 3-year commitment. For those of us who were 4-year,
Yeah.
we're on for 5, and don't anybody even think about leaving. So why this came up very quickly is, in all innocence, I'm sorry, I think I started, I called and I went, now, when are the elections? You know, sort of like, you know, assuming that they would be in February, which is when we all first came on, and I was happily informed by NSHE that, oh no, read section 17, elections are the first meeting after the beginning of NSHE's fiscal year, which would place us with our August meeting. And I said, but if somebody, you know, that was part of the 2-year group had been elected chair, you would have no chair for 8 months. And I went, oh, we better fix that. So I said, so let's move the election, which maybe John could tell us why, but they didn't like doing that. So their solution was to extend our terms. And anyone new who joins us, you know, to fill the slots that were not initially filled will also get the extended term. Now, you can also still re-up for another 4 years, so keep that in mind. But I would like to know, this will go to the community college. The chairs kind of said, yeah, we kind of looked at each other and went, well, I guess,
Whatever.
you know, whatever. But I did need to bring it to you to, you know, find out if we should push back. But I guess, John, is there some reason they want to keep the...
You won't like this answer. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good answer to have. My suggestion was just change when they voted, but nobody seemed to be from NSHE liking that. So, does anybody have any mild objections to being? I know what you signed up for, but okay. So, could we just so I could carry it forward to the community college committee in 2 weeks, could I ask possibly for a motion that we accept the changes for the initial members of term, the length of our terms for those initial members of the IAC to be extended from 2 years to 3 years and from 4 years to 5 years?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, and thank you. And I wasn't going to let you go anywhere anyway, but see, I have my friend Susan down there. Yeah, she's got to stick now. So thank you very, very much, and we do really appreciate everybody and all of you too for doing what you're doing. These are very important committees, and I think we're going to see more importance, especially moving on into the legislative session. And then while we're having motions, if we could look at the meeting schedule for 2017. I have one request, and this was actually brought to my attention. Looking for here it is. The first meeting that is scheduled for 2017, which is February 10th. But John, am I correct? Is that the workforce? Your meeting is that date also?
February 10th is our board meeting.
That's
Our
right.
Nevada Works Board meeting
Right.
is that day, right?
Right. So we were asked, and I was asking Dr. Dalpy if he could be here at the next meeting to talk about some legislative things, and I know he's on your board. So is there a possibility that that's a Friday, if we could go to a Thursday?
What time is
that
your
week?
your board meeting?
Morning.
Morning? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So does anybody have any great objection to going to February 9th? I know that probably is scheduling for this room, but we can always find some other spot. So does anybody have a problem with that change? Okay.
No.
I appreciate that. And I haven't looked that far ahead, so on the others, the other meetings are fixed, so that and while we're on the subject, Michonne, are you going to be able? Could you do the February 23rd meeting of the community college? Sure. Thank you, because I'm going to be overseas. Great. I hope. Thank you. So could I have a motion to accept the schedule, the proposed schedule with the one change for the February 9th for the 2017 meetings of the Truckee Meadows Community College Institutional Advisory Council meetings?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Carries. All right, so now we can go back to where we were. All right, let's do one thing here. Let's go to item 8, which is the discussion and possible action regarding IAC support of TMCC's legislative agenda, but not limited to increased funding of CTE credits, tours for assemblymen and senators, and key contacts. And I'm looking forward to having a much more in-depth discussion on this topic at our next meeting, which will occur shortly after the legislative session starts. And Karin and I and Lisa have been working on a plan to keep you more informed over the next 3 months with a series of informational emails that affect the community college, which bills are coming up, and how we are going to interact with NSHE. This has been a discussion with the chairs of the IACs, the regents, and everyone as to how we can most effectively represent our school. We know some people have conflicting, they can't be lobbying for this and for that, and we understand that. But for those of us who can get to the legislature, we're going to have some guidelines on how to do this and requests for people to show up at certain times. It was very interesting through the series of meetings we were having with the regents that it has the message that we have gotten from the regents' leadership is that it is incumbent upon the IACs to educate our legislators, that this is part of our community outreach, and they are very much wanting our support in that area. So this is how we do things sometimes with the Manufacturers Association has worked out quite well, is that we feel that if we can get the legislators in this building or in the other buildings and show them what great institutions we have and get them excited about the community colleges and how they are truly educating the community and bringing people to great jobs, and the transfer mission and the arts and all the things that you do, that they are going to be more amenable when we go in and go, please, we really need these things. And at least they're educated on the subject, and so we can have a conversation. So one of the things that I would like to ask you is if anybody knows anybody that is in the legislature, whether they're in the assembly or they're a senator, whether they're incumbent or whether they have just been elected, to invite them to please come and take a tour of one of the TMCC campuses, and that we will arrange for students or someone to take them on a tour and to sell. But it's one of the things we've done with manufacturing is we've learned if we can get people into our facilities and actually see what we do, all of a sudden the whole myth of the dirty and the dark and the dank goes away, and they see exciting, clean, and a real future. So that's one of the things would really like to ask everybody to do. How does anybody feel about that sort of outreach? I mean, we can call perfect strangers too, and we're going to get them in.
Who would we coordinate that through?
We're working on that now. Probably would be coordinated through Lisa.
One recommendation I would have would be for the newly elected representatives, Julia Ratty, Jill Tolles, that may have been to the campus but in a different role, that would be a good place to start as well, sort of a welcome and just a initiation, I guess, into.
Right. In other words, we can tailor the tour, who gives the tour, which.
Well, I think your new building on Edison is also worth including in that because it's so relevant. And then the other thing I would add to what Nancy's saying is, I don't know, because I think the Northern Nevada representatives are easy.
Yeah.
We all know them. Yeah. They're going to be very interested in seeing it's the Southern Nevada representatives and senators. I don't know how you want to approach that, if you want to work in conjunction with the community college down there to where you swap.
Hopefully CSN is down there selling,
or they help you get them up here, and vice versa. You help get the northern folks down there. We ought to be thinking about how we take it, because we need Southern Nevada.
Absolutely, but now this was originally started at the chairs meeting, so hopefully everybody is on the same pathway.
Yeah.
And we will certainly make contact with them.
And Kevin Melcher might be great for the north, for Elko, and trying to get a couple of them. They're usually easier to get too, but we ought not to forget some of the rurals.
Oh, absolutely. So we want to look at anybody you think that could be helpful in any way to take this time, and would actually like to do it now before the session starts.
Definitely.
Because once it starts, it's almost impossible with their time constraints to get them here. So I will be sending you out, if people are sort of amenable to this, more information on when Lisa and I figure out what the pathway is, and Karen, to coordinate this. And if you could perhaps send to me an email with who you would like to call, who do you know? So then we'll get a list and we'll see, have we got everybody or are we missing some? Like the gentleman that was just elected for the assembly from District 40, which goes into Carson City, but is part of Washoe. This is somebody I know. I think I employed his child at some point. So I will call him. But any contact you have and suggestions, and it will be, if you wish to come with them, this would be wonderful. And so that you can keep helping to inform them, and we will also get you talking points.
Yeah, I also think if you can establish a date or two, that works to where you have kind of whatever your schedule's going to be with them. I think and then we can follow up with phone calls after you put out an invitation of some sort.
Great.
We'll we'll work on coordination is going to be very, very big, but I think if people are amenable to doing this, we can really take this opportunity to expose people. As I say, going back to manufacturing, most of the legislature doesn't know there is any manufacturing in the state. So every 2 years we go through these same tours, but it's very important, and I think we can stress how we do communicate with K-12, with NSHE, that this is all part of educating our students. And one of the things that we have on here, the increased funding, which Karen touched on earlier, the CT credits, that'll be part of the talking points, and as more bills come up that are relevant to the community college that we would like them to think about in a certain way, we would have an opportunity to add those to our education.
On an increased funding, on the topic of increased funding, the other area of need of which TMCC plays a part is the 40,000 adults without high school equivalency, and the 400 that are currently being moved through the program between the three entities that do that sort of training. And so with the large number that is out there that don't have a high school equivalency, and that being the first step toward employment, we would really like to see an increase in funding of all the programs in Northern Nevada that help attract people to those programs and help get them through those programs so that they can then enter the community colleges and enter the workforce.
Thank you. I know I was going back through the minutes. This is something we discussed the last time, and I don't ever want to lose some of these wonderful conversations. Would it be possible for you to write something up for us from your group? And I know that there's some additional funding hopefully coming through from Dieter in that area that we might possibly influence its direction a little bit. So, but the more we can know and the more we can talk about other programs, I think it makes it look, the community college, much more part of the community, which is what this group is about. And it's not just an isolated school on the hill, but it is a vital and driving force in the community and defines the community. So I think thank you very much. So anything you can think of in this area, please feed this into me. I will be working with staff and with Karen to make sure this works and that we do it right, because I think we can do a great job. If you have any other questions, comments, anything right now, otherwise send all kinds of emails. We will get this organized. Okay, we did number 9, right? Did we do 9? Yeah.
We did number 9. It's number 10 that we probably need to do, and I can try to be quick.
Yes. Now we're in number 10.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So number 10 is a result of a request, first of all, and then I expanded it a bit because I thought, oh, we should report on a couple of things related to marketing. The first one was a request to get a look at how the marketing efforts around the technical pathway option is going. And Kate, I thought there was a handout, but, oh good, she has it. Ah, okay.
I apologize for jumping around.
That's all right. So what I needed a reminder of is what kind of marketing did TMCC do in order to get students to this pathway. And this is a brochure that we've been using, and with mixed success. I mean, the good news is in the technical pathway currently, there are 36 students. I think I'm remembering that correctly.
Yes,
36, and I believe that of that, 9 were from Washoe County School District, and that meant that 27 are from the ACE Charter School. And so we do have a nice, good group of students who have begun that technical pathway, but of course we do have more capacity, and we hope to get more students in the near future and in the upcoming years. So one of, I think, the difficulties, and I think it speaks a little bit to your comment earlier, Nancy, related to the 40,000 students, or excuse me, residents who need to finish their high school equivalency, really, in order to avail themselves of training programs. It's really hard to market certain programs to certain populations in our region, well, really in any region for that matter. So we do our very best, but we definitely rely on our partners to assist with that, whether the partner is a school district or whether the partner is a manufacturing entity or a hospital, right? We really do count on our partners to assist us with getting the word out. That said, we have, I think, engaged in some really fruitful partnerships, and I think the lines of communication are working very well. But hopefully we'll see better results with this particular pathway as we move forward. Manufacturing, it's still sort of a hard sell out there. And, you know, Kali and I talk about this a lot, that for the most part, residents don't always understand that these are good jobs, living wage jobs, in relatively clean environments where people get to practice their critical thinking skills. And so these are interesting jobs, too. But it's just hard to get that word out. So the other two things that I wanted to report on, and then we can have some time for questions, is I'm very thankful to John and his Sunrise Rotary Club. This was the second year that with their help and partnership, TMCC participated in a Let's Go to College event. And we had teams of us led by Kate, thank you Kate, who we sort of landed at 3 elementary schools. And we were instructed by Kate to sort of branch out with our Rotarian partners. We had notebooks, and each child got 3 pencils and 1 pen and a notebook. And we didn't just go in and hand them out, which is sort of what I thought we would do. Kate asked us to have a short dialogue with each classroom about going to college and going to TMCC. And it was really fun because we asked we started by saying, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And then you get all kinds of fun answers. And most of those answers, we do provide training at TMCC, at least whether you're on a transfer path or whether it's a specific career. So that was a lot of fun. The kids love these books. And one of the things that really surprised me, this was the second year we've done this apparently, and there were children who remembered what the one from last year looked like. And they said, oh, this one's cooler than last year. The other one had a black background. Or they'd say something like that. And then, of course, we had the lizard. The wizard lizard was around, and the kids loved that. I mean, they were just squeals of joy when the lizard walked into their classroom. So this is truly a great partnership. I hope we continue it for many years to come. I would love to see us in every single elementary school doing this every year. I really do think it will make a difference for Nevadans in our region. I think it'll really inspire in them. One of the students in one of the classrooms I was at raised her hand and said, well, how much does it cost to go to TMCC? I mean, she was probably in 5th grade, but it's interesting, maybe 4th grade, that already in families, they're worried about the cost of college. You know, and of course we had a financial aid person there who said, oh, that's my job. I find a way to help you go to college at a very good price point and in some cases for free, depending on what your background is. So that was kind of cool too. But it was kind of interesting that even little kids are worried about how they're going to fund their college education. So thank you for that. We'll pass it down. No, it's mine. Yeah. Oh, what?
Can I add a couple?
Sure, please do.
I'm bragging, so don't think that this isn't a brag. I am. We hit 1,800 students at three elementary schools: Virginia Palmer, Alice Maxwell, and Sun Valley. All of them are what the school district calls Title I schools, which serve low-income neighborhoods. So this was an activity to try to get another opportunity, I should say, to encourage these children to think beyond a high school diploma. And I don't know how many people in their lives are doing that, but we had Rotarians, TMCC faculty, we had SGA representatives, we had a range of people that were there. They gave the little talk and had the interaction with the children. It cost about $9,400 to hit 1,800 children. That notebook cost $4. It's expensive, but I think it's worth the money. I'm going to be president of my Rotary Club next year, so I'm hoping to expand to a couple more elementary schools. It was a wonderful morning. We had President Hildretham at one. We had Vice President Buchanan at another. We had Superintendent Tracy Davis at another. We had Angie Taylor, the president of the school board, at another. So we involved a lot of people. We also had media coverage from KOLO TV, Fox News, and KOH Radio was there, and we were able to give us some fun interviews. And ironically, that was when I presented this to my Rotary Club, the kind of report back. Somebody goes, and KOH Radio was there. So we hit a number of media ways of reaching out to people. So I'm very happy with it. I'm very excited.
So, go ahead.
What I was going to just offer up that perhaps could be incorporated into another round of this is that we at EDON are working on an activity book for probably 3rd, 4th, 5th graders, and we will need the support of the Washoe County School District as well. This particular activity book was something that was done by Nevada Workforce Connections down in Southern Nevada, and they are allowing us to use what they started and just modify it for our needs up in Northern Nevada. And so we're probably only about 60 days away from that, and it's called My Future. It's printed in both English and Spanish, and it's basically kind of a what do I want to be when I grow up, and just a fun little activity coloring book to get people thinking. On the back side of it, there will be information about the STEM Hub, so that parents can start pay more attention to STEM and so forth. So EDON is funding the cost of that book, and so maybe that could be incorporated into future activities to get it out to school children in the area.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, separate from that, I noticed at, and Scott, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, which would not be the first time, but I noticed at Shaw Middle School, which is the feeder middle school to Spanish Springs High School. It's a huge middle school, I think 1,000 plus kids, 7th and 8th grade. They do a night for 8th graders where they lay out all the high school options. And I don't know if parents are included in that, but they have, I noticed on their website that they've got everything from AACT to Truckee Meadows High School to Spanish Springs High School to, I even think maybe some of the private options are on there. But anyway, I'm just wondering if it makes sense to invite middle school admin and counselors to the new center on Edison. Please again correct me if I'm heading down the wrong path, or certain teachers, kind of like what you've done with teachers talking to companies about what they're looking for, really taking that new space and thinking of every constituent. You know, the politicals are one, but also some of these middle school counselors, admin, to where they really see what that looks like. It's really impressive. To really, so they can help you communicate. And frankly, if other middle schools are doing nights like that for 8th graders, that would be a great opportunity for you to be in front of them saying, here's an option.
Yeah.
So just something to, maybe you've already done that, but.
Well, Estella's not here, I would ask.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm looking at, is how do you start at that middle school, really
Right.
getting them to be thinking where their passion lies.
Right.
Am I off?
Yeah.
For the record, Scott Bailey, no, you're actually right on. I'll probably be reporting out on that when it comes to more of our agenda items, maybe the remaining agenda item.
Okay, great. And then the last thing that I wanted to just mention is efforts have earnestly begun to have conversations and processes around a brand or a rebranding, and that will be followed up by a significant increase in the marketing budget next year, so that we can do a much better job of getting our message out. And the goal is to have an infusion of marketing dollars, basically using a contingency fund to do so, and tracking that for a 2-year period to see if we see a return on investment. But before we go producing more print, radio, and television media and other forms, like I love this one because this is a real direct way of reaching an intentional population. But to see, is this the kind of effort that we can measure yield? Are we really getting more results? Right now, our marketing budget is extremely small for a college this size, and I think it's one of the reasons why our enrollment is a bit down. I think we're not doing enough pushing out once we have a good, clever, fun message to push out. So we are committed, me and the leadership team, we're committed to helping that so that Kate and her crew can really try some new things and experience some great success that should really pay itself back if it goes correctly. Probably at least twofold would be nice. So that was the last thing I wanted to say about that. The other thing I need to mention is, and I'll just do it now so I don't forget, one of our IAC meetings is scheduled for May 12th. We're having a major problem right now finding a venue for graduation that is affordable. So we have been discussing the possibility of moving graduation to May 12th. Now that might actually work okay for the IAC because it could mean that we have a meeting and then if you want to stay for graduation, you can, right? But I will keep you informed as we get closer to that and figure out our issue. Right. We're seeing venues, the casino venues, really raise their prices dramatically, and it's really caught us with our knickers down. I'm going, what? That's not for the public record, but that's how it feels. Anyway, so there we go.
I have a question from an advertising standpoint also, since we have the president of the Associated Student Body here, of the opportunities being explored for the social media, going back to the students, talking to students, whether it's a blogger of students, getting student stories out to other students, other people that they know of the same age that are not students at TMCC, but it just goes back to reaching the population that you're trying to reach via, the mechanisms that they use to get media, which are different than others might be. I just mentioned that we're looking into Pandora. We're having a conversation on Tuesday with Pandora from an attraction standpoint, and as I understand it, they're not as expensive as some other options, and so they're very short snippets, but just exploring those sort of alternative methods of communication and whether it's something that students could really get behind and engage in that would also augment the other things that you may be doing.
Did you want to say anything? David?
Currently, we do encourage all of our clubs to put everything that they're doing out on social media, and it does get shared a lot. We do have quite a few things that get well, for our standards, they go a little viral. SGA has their own Facebook page, their own YouTube, their own Twitter, their own Instagram. We're currently exploring into Snapchat, trying to create filters for Snapchat to where when students take selfies, they'll be framed in a TMCC filter, so we can try and get TMCC's branding out there a little bit more on a student level. So we are exploring those issues already, and it's just because this is how we can also engage students and potential students, letting them know what TMCC is doing and to get them more involved, because we're also trying to create student life here.
Hi, Kate Kirkpatrick, for the record, Director of Marketing and Communications. We manage the overall college Facebook page, and then we require anybody that has a TMCC-related page to make one of us an administrator, so that if, for example, SGA has some turnover, we can still access that page and give those rights to whoever the new contact is going to be. So we are making efforts to make sure that all those pages stay contained and that we can access them at any time. I hate to share something that's not approved and final yet, but I am working on a Foundation Faculty and Staff Innovation Grant. Plug your ears, Gretchen. The proposal's due on Monday, and our idea is to hire a work-study student, so the funds would come from the work-study pot, and ask for a grant to cover the cost of the equipment we would need, either a dedicated cell phone or iPad, to have a student do exactly that, what you're talking about. Because we have only one student worker in my office right now, and he does graphic design. He's fabulous, but we can't add social media to his plate. Currently, we own the rights to all of the TMCC pages on the different social media networks. The only ones that we're really active on are Facebook, which then feeds to Twitter, but nobody's really taking time to rewrite that post for Twitter. So sometimes it comes out a little bit wonky. When you're looking at Twitter, it's a little bit too long. It doesn't have the right hashtags because there's just a very small staff, and we just don't have a lot of time to look at that. We know that research shows that folks, especially in that younger age range that we try and target, are really active in the social media that we don't have time to do, Snapchat, Instagram, and maybe even some new stuff that we haven't really even looked at yet, because that's how social media works. The youngest generation is driving the bus, and we kind of catch up when we can. So what we'd like to do is hire a student who really enjoys that and can speak in a casual tone, get those messages across more peer-to-peer than we're able to do at the institutional level. I have no idea if that's going to get funded. I don't. But that's what we're thinking is, boy, that's a great idea, and we'd love to do that someday. So that's the first thing I'd like to address. And then the second thing was Pandora. We have advertised on Pandora before. We felt it was very successful. It's currently outside our budget, and our ad agency has not recommended that we look at Pandora at the current time. We just met with them yesterday to get our winter and spring advertising schedule nailed down. So I didn't bring it with me, but what I can recall was they have a great mix of local radio, local TV, and those are very short spots, those 5 or 10 second billboard ads right before the show comes back from commercial. Register now for winter and spring at Truckee Meadows Community College, and that's all you have time to say, which sounds a little bit like the Pandora that you're talking about, but have that on Spanish radio, local television, in a couple of different print locations, and then quite a bit of online advertising following people around, very targeted in our age range and in our geographic location, so that we're not spending any money looking outside our target audience. So is there anything else I can answer while I'm here?
No, that's excellent, and I think, David, thank you very much for your input, because it's so important. The best salesmen that we have for this institution are the fabulous students that are here now. And if they share their stories with their family and their friends, that's the best you could possibly do. So thank you for engaging, because that's the best we can do.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else from anybody, or can we go back to item 7, which I think is we're going to actually make it through this, is number 7. And and this is where you all get to tell us what we really should be doing and things that we need to follow up on. So, and I just want to quickly on mine is that after our meeting on August 12th, I attended 4 additional meetings on behalf of the IAC, the Community College Committee of the Board of Regents, the IAC Chairs meeting, which was a continuation of the June meeting, and the newly instituted IAC Chairs and the Regents Leadership meeting. And then I also presented at the Board of Regents, which is once a year, the IAC Chair reports for the community college, and our slot is September. And I will be sending you the minutes on all of these that I have, and also a set of my comments so you can find out what I said. So follow up on that. But I think I've brought you some of the flavor of what was said at some of these meetings, and we have a great thanks to the Board of Regents, because we were saying that the IACs work very well with their presidents and the administration and staff of their college, but we really didn't know how to talk to the regents, and so they were kind enough to reach out to us and set up a biannual meeting where twice a year the chairs will have the opportunity, these are public meetings, anyone can come, and to sit down with the leadership of the Board of Regents and discuss those things which are of interest, and to set up the lines of communication on various topics. So that's what I have to report. And Susan, we're just going to go around and...
I don't have anything to report, sorry.
Okay. Let's...
For the record, Scott Bailey, Chief Academic Officer, Washoe County School District. Lots of things to celebrate. Obviously, still reeling off the success of WC1. So we're
yes,
getting to work on the work.
Yes, congratulations.
Our good is your good, your good is our good. Yes, absolutely. So happy about that. We continued, through my office at least, industry tours in partnership with EDON. So most recently, we had a busload of high school career center facilitators, which are pivotal, obviously, in counseling students toward career pathways. That was November 8th. October 21st, all my non-school site-based staff went out to the center as well. We did a lot of focus on LEAP and what that offers and affords students. Again, going back to that point A to point B concept. Kudos to Val Cotta for her assistance. She's always there assisting us, and certainly Nancy has been very supportive in that partnership as well. So it's really, in my opinion, turned the conversation on what do you want to do when you grow up, because if our teachers and our administrators don't know what the possibilities are, even in our backyard, that conversation tends to take its traditional route. I'll be a policeman, I'll be a fireman, or a sheriff in this case. So we're very, very excited about that as an outreach opportunity. We held our annual Career Expo. This goes to the Vice Chair's comments. What you saw at Shaw, basically we've evolved over time. We took the great things that went on at the middle school, I'll call them career fairs, and we've consolidated. And this was largely by community support request. So what used to be, whereas we had, let's just say Panasonic, because they're always there, Panasonic would have to go do multiple duties because they'd have to go to every one. So it dawned on us, Dr. Dana Ryan specifically, in partnership with EDON and others, that if we consolidated, we might have more bang for the buck, and it would be better for all to be served in that manner. So what that has evolved to is all schools this year participated. So we had 8th graders was our focus audience over 2 days at the convention center. Over 53 business and industry, I think, as well as community college, university, and others represented, to talk to kids about where they can enter this workforce pipeline. That was pretty cool. Over 4,000 8th graders in those 2 days. We served them lunch. I believe we had over 100 buses that came in and out. It's well orchestrated. If you haven't been there, certainly I'll invite you next year. It occurs in November. And based on last year's performance, we actually came up with a snow day this year. We didn't have to use it, thank goodness. Let's see. Something great to celebrate, which I think assists us all, and this kind of goes, I know Brad's not here, but Councilmember Woodring had brought up the necessity for dual language, I believe, last council meeting. It just so happens I was able to get the report on the seal of biliteracy. I don't know if anyone's that familiar with it, but it's something new as of the 2015 legislative session. whereas we can actually put an endorsement, if you will, a seal on a student's transcript and diploma that says they're biliterate or triliterate, whatever the case may be, and we offer that in multiple languages. It just so happens that Washoe County administered 420 seals to the 2016 graduating class, which was the highest of any school district in the state of Nevada. So that's another cause for celebration that will assist us in our partnership with TMCC and certainly in the workforce. So I think I could probably just stop there. I could go on, but certainly enjoy engaging in outreach activities.
Thank you. For the record, Marisa Brown. I'm with the Nevada Hospital Association, and we had a booth at the Career Expo. It was a wonderful event, and we represented healthcare. And they brought the kids in droves. So, we'd have a group that would come, and then there'd be a little bit of a lull, and then another group that would come. So it was very well run. And in walking around and looking at some of the other providers that were there, I was very amazed. TMCC had several booths. The FBI was there. There was manufacturing there. It was a great event. So great job in pulling that off. Great. Yeah, and so that's all I have to report.
John Thurman, for the record, from Nevada Works. As far as outreach for TMCC, we're always advocating TMCC's services, and certainly they're a valuable, very valuable piece of the workforce development system. The one thing that I'm promoting probably more and more as I talk to different employers is, and working with Dr. Dalpy as well, on trying to take some of the certificate programs to a little bit higher level. It seems like, they're coming out with some very basic skills, but some little higher level of proficiencies would be appreciated, certainly in the manufacturing field. The other thing is certainly Deb O'Gorman and her group, the assessments, the services that they provide to assist an employer in making the right choice first is something that we're always working on, and I'm always promoting that as well. So those are probably the two things. Certainly all the community colleges in northern Nevada are very important to the workforce development system when it comes to providing educational opportunities. We do need those classes to be placed on the eligible training provider list. There are new requirements, new reporting requirements, which we are finding challenging, and we're certainly working forward on trying to figure out how we're going to meet the Department of Labor reporting requirements. In the past, if you sent one funded client to take a class, you only reported on that client. Now you send that one client to take that class. Now you report on the entire cohort that took the class, and not just the class. So if you repeated the class 3 times during the year, you'd have to report on that entire population. Huge challenge for the community colleges, which we're trying to figure out, working with INCHI and everybody else and Dieter, on how do we gather the information, how do we share the information without violating somebody's privacy rights and so on and so forth. So some huge challenges. So working on all of those things, but certainly the community college system in northern Nevada, and especially TMCC right here, vitally important, and we're always promoting.
I don't know that I have really anything to report in terms of, advocating for TMCC other than just a couple comments. I was actively helping the WC1 campaign as well, and I think what's interesting there is that, South Meadows gets a lot of the attention in terms of growth because a couple of those schools are so overcrowded. But really the growth is in the North Valleys here, and a lot of it towards North Valley, Spanish Springs. And I think it's going to be just something to keep an eye on for Truckee Meadows, because you're really in the epicenter here. And I don't know exactly what that means in terms of direction for you, but I think in terms of programming or commingling of facilities, the public, though they were generous in voting in favor of a tax increase, wants you to spend money wisely. So I don't know what opportunities might be down the road for that, but you are in a great spot, because I think one of the new high schools they're actually looking at the Sun Valley, Wild Creek area. So just be thinking about that, and hopefully with your involvement, Scott, conversations, you can be included in those conversations. I think that would be just one thing. And then I'm sounding like a broken record, but I would just look at that Edison facility, and everyone that you can think of that you want to see that, get over there. Because I was there on the opening day, and I was impressed with the number of people you had there. But sometimes we get through the opening day, and then you get into it, the swing, and you forget about it. And there's a good chunk of folks that I think would be, when you see it, it's so much different than saying manufacturing.
Yeah, right.
When you see, the computers and the robots and the, drones and that's what gets you excited. So just, I'll shut up. That's my last hurrah.
Yeah.
Nancy McCormick, EDON, and I just would like to highlight an activity that we partnered with TMCC on that I think was beneficial to the TMCC students that participated from an education standpoint, as well as to EDON and to the community, and there'll be a press release coming out about it soon. But we were working on a project where we will be putting some advertising on food pantry bags that are in place within the Washoe County School District. There are food pantries, and we wanted to provide information really about the resources that are out there to assist students in getting additional help, training, guidance, and so forth as they're trying to transition into the workforce. And so we were able to partner with the graphic arts department at TMCC with their students to create a variety of images that could be used on these pantry bags, food pantry bags. And we were really amazed at the great variety and the great job that these art students, arts and graphics, did on those. We had about 12 different ones to choose from, and we've narrowed it down to 3, but every single one of them was really well done and very impressive and very different. And they really very quickly grasped exactly what we were looking for and came through on time with some great design. So we really appreciate that, and I think the benefit also is it gave those students that were in the program were able to see all this information about the different entities that you could take advantage of depending on what your career pathway might be, or even if you wanted to continue on to college. So all the students in that class probably learned about some resources that are out there that they didn't know about previously either. So great partnership, and really appreciate the support.
David?
Really, SGA worked with the Rotary Club, handing out the notebooks and everything to the students at the elementary schools. Our students had a lot of fun with that. We also had some SGA members go to Kohl's, and they were shopping with elementary students who are low income and help them get different school supplies like clothing. And then other stuff that will probably help TMCC look better in the future is SGA passed some resolutions. One was for accessibility. It's going through the NSA, which is the Nevada Student Alliance. And it's just trying to nip anything in the bud and make the schools as accessible as possible. So when professors are creating curriculum, they're creating it in mind that if I ever do have a student who is blind or disabled or hearing impaired in any way, that the curriculum's already made. So instead of a student coming in saying, oh, well, I now need all this additional help, and them getting put behind the rest of the class because now everything has to be converted for them, it's all going to be seamless and together. And we are requesting that all administration staff and faculty members go through the ADA accessibility training just to, kind of nip it in the bud and just show everybody how accessible we are.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And David, would as part of outreach, anytime that your group would like to get into, we talk about all of these companies that are training people, that we're training for, to have access to them and to see what's out there. Would be more than happy to assist you in that. So if any in your group would like to see what does a manufacturing plant look like, what does one of the food processing plants look like, any of these things, please let us know so that so
Absolutely.
we can.
I'll put this down.
So you can find out what we're all talking about here.
Yeah, I'll bring that up to the SGA and maybe during winter break when we have a little bit of a dull moment from classes.
Anytime, but I think it's important that the student leadership understands, since you're here, what we're talking about. So I have a little better idea. Cheryl, welcome. I hope you survived.
No, I'm learning lots of new things, and it's nice to find out what's going on in the community again. I used to be very involved, and then I kind of moved away and came back, and so thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Gracie?
I'm sorry, I stepped out, so are we?
Well, if you have any last comments, we actually have 3 minutes left before everyone just goes running out the door.
All right. I'd like to thank everyone for including the Classified Council. On our campus right now, Classified is becoming very involved in community outreach along with the community in our college. So we really appreciate getting updates on what's happening in our community. And please, at any time, you may contact the Classified Council, myself, if there is anything that Classified can do out in our community or be involved in, as we plan on contacting you to be involved.
Great. Thank you. That's the important thing. It's all about, it's all about communication.
Absolutely.
And how can we make sure that the community understands what an incredible opportunity they have at TMCC for everyone out there? I mean, everybody can benefit from this institution.
Absolutely.
Carol.
Faculty Senate has been working on a number of things, but mostly in just interacting with other parts of the campus. So we've had a lot of great connections with leadership. Karin and I meet every month and discuss the things that have to happen. I meet twice a month with Barbara Buchanan, and SGA has been a strong part of what we do, and we like to support what they have in mind, and Classified Council as well. They both have representation on Faculty Senate. But what I'd like to say most is that I was at the community college meeting, and I've been at the Board of Regents meetings, which is one of my duties, and Kali has done such an amazing job representing TMCC and this board. I think you guys are blessed to have her as your leader. I was really impressed by both you and Karin's presentations at the community college committee, because I think the mission differentiation is something they're trying really hard not to do too much. And so to hear the two of you strongly come out and say, we have to talk about this and we have to talk about it now, was very gratifying, especially from Faculty Senate's point of view, where we're looking at shared governance and the importance of it, and also at that idea that the whole system, NSHE system, should work together to educate the students in Nevada, not work against each other. And so that competitiveness that's happening at the NSHE level, I'm glad to see both of you supporting that we work together and not compete for these meager resources that we have in the state right now.
Thank you very, very much. That's very kind of you, and I appreciate it. And I think we did it together. We were able to be fairly firm in what it was we were thinking, and not to couch it properly, we hope. I think we...
No, it was very well done, and I think you made a great team.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And on that high note, I'm going to... No. Say another thing.
And I would just like to add that it's refreshing for me to come to my second IAC meeting.
Yes.
And just to feel the support that you are all offering, not just here in this room, but when you're out there in the community. I think it's wonderful, so thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. I think we made it on time, and thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing some of you hopefully at lunch in about 20 minutes. So, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Done.